Today, we're jumping into a story from Bulukumba, Indonesia that is so simple it's just brilliant. It's all about a library that was facing this huge challenge. How do you get kids to fall in love with books before they can even read? Their solution wasn't about fancy tech or more books. It was about tapping into the ancient, powerful magic of storytelling.
And really, this is the question at the heart of it all. I mean, think about it for a second. A library is this magical place full of books, right? But if you're 5 years old, those books are just pages filled with squiggles and symbols. So how do you cross that bridge? How do you turn a quiet room of books into this epic world of adventure and excitement for a kid?
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dig into the library's mission. Then we'll introduce this amazing storytelling terrace. We'll see exactly how the magic works, look at the impact it had on future readers, and finally think about what the next chapter could be.
All right, so first up, the library's new mission. You know, every library wants to help people learn, but what do you do when your youngest, most curious visitors can't even use your main tool, the written word? I mean, at their core, libraries are supposed to be these pillars in the community, right? They're hubs for knowledge, a place for education that's open and available to absolutely everyone. That's the whole point. But the library in Bulukumba was facing a double whammy. You had the age-old problem of how to hook kids before they can read, and then bam, the pandemic hits, and they had to figure out how to keep doing their job at all. It was this perfect storm that really forced them to think outside the box.
And boy, did they get creative. Out of all that pressure came this beautifully simple and incredibly powerful idea, the storytelling terrace.
So the official name for it is Terong Pustaka. It's short for the Indonesian phrase Teras Dongeng Perpustakaan, which translates perfectly to the storytelling terrace of the library. The name itself just paints this wonderful picture, doesn't it? It's not some stuffy room. It's out on the terrace, open and inviting.
And they knew exactly who this was for: kindergartners. See, instead of focusing on the one thing they couldn't do yet, read, the program tapped into what is basically their superpower, their incredible ability to listen and get completely lost in a story. So what did this actually look like? How did it all work? Let's pull back the curtain and see how the storytelling terrace actually created all this magic.
The genius of it is in this really clever three-step journey. It all starts with the pure joy of just listening to a story. But then it starts to build a bridge, helping the kids connect the words they're hearing to the actual physical books. And finally, it introduces the alphabet, not like a boring lesson, but more like the secret code that unlocks all of those amazing stories for themselves. And you've got to look at these goals. They were aiming high. Yeah, of course, they wanted kids to visit the library and get interested in reading, but it was so much bigger than that. They were teaching social values, boosting language skills, firing up their imaginations. This was about helping grow the whole child, not just a future reader.
Now, a great idea is one thing, but what makes a program truly special is when it can grow and evolve. And that's exactly what happened here. The storytelling terrace didn't just start strong, it got even better. Okay, so check this out. In 2020, the program kicks off with a simple, awesome model. Librarians read fairy tales to the kids. And it worked. It was a huge success. But then, in 2022, they added one little tweak that was about to change everything.
And here it is. This was the game changer. They went from just having the kids listen to something active. After the story was over, the children were invited to come up and retell it in their own words. Such a small shift, right? But it unlocked a whole new world of benefits.
And wow, this is where the real transformation happened. Asking them to retell the story wasn't about testing their memory. It was about building their courage to speak in front of others. It boosted their self-confidence like you wouldn't believe. Suddenly, they weren't just listeners anymore. They were becoming storytellers themselves. That simple little evolution, from just listening to actively retelling, well, that was the spark that turned a really nice library program into a genuine community-wide movement.
It really did become a whole literacy movement. The experience wasn't just about sitting on the terrace anymore. It was this whole package deal. You'd listen to the story, you'd get a chance to retell it, and then you'd get a tour of the library, connecting that magic you just heard to the rows and rows of books on the shelves.
And, you know, a success story like this never happens in a vacuum. The people behind the project made sure to thank everyone, from local government officials to national institutions, for all their support. It's just such a powerful reminder that these amazing local ideas really take off when the whole community gets on board. So what's the big takeaway here? The storytelling terrace isn't just a sweet story from far away. It's a powerful blueprint that could work almost anywhere. It just proves that if you really truly understand your audience, one simple, focused idea can lay the foundation for a whole lifetime of learning.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. One last question for you. This entire movement started with one library and one simple idea. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What simple, creative idea is just waiting to be discovered right there in your community?